Well, as Jeremy Corbyn defied his MPs and emerged victorious once again, his message to them was pretty clear. Come on board, he said, let's wipe the slate clean. But is anything actually going to change? Well, the Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, has stayed loyal, of course, to the leader throughout, and he joins me now. A very good morning to you, Mr. McDonnell. I just want to start with, there seems to be a bit of a row going around at the moment here about what you said about the former MP, Esther McVey.
What's this?
You called her a stain on humanity.
That was a debate in Parliament a couple of years ago when she was the Minister for Disabled People. And at that time, she was introducing the cuts that was affecting people's lives. In fact, we now know that a number of people died as a result of those cuts. And that was within a parliamentary debate. And I was expressing an honest view about what I thought her role was. It was a disgraceful role.
Do you still think those are the right words to use about her?
Yes, I do. It was a parliamentary debate in which I was demonstrating the inhumanity in which was being shown to disabled people. They were forcing people to go through a work capability assessment that resulted in large numbers of people taking their own lives. In addition to that, many of those people who were actually assessed for work died before they even took up work, and they were threatened with loss of benefits. So it was appalling. And I was expressing the justifiable anger, not just of myself, but I think of large numbers of disabled people right the way across the country.
But a stain on humanity, I mean, you remove stains.
Well, that's nothing to do with removal. It was a stain on humanity on the basis of the way in which people were being treated. It was appalling what was happening to disabled people, and actually it's still happening now.
And now, I mean, I ask you that because there's been reverberation. You were on Robert Peston's show earlier, weren't you? And Yvette Cooper, very senior figure within the party, asked you to apologise. We've just got a clip of what happened not so very long ago.
Not okay. It's really, really not okay. And people do say things in the heat of the moment.
But he should have apologised.
He should have apologised. He should absolutely have apologised. The idea of saying that a woman MP, as Esther was at the time, should be lynched, I mean, it was just wrong. And, you know, to be fair to Owen Smith, when he said things during the summer, he apologised for them, and rightly so. You know, people sometimes say things that they regret. Apologise for them. Because if you don't, it sets a climate of hostility and abuse. I want John and Jeremy to use their social media accounts to challenge people in the party who are being abusive. I want us to have much stronger rules, much stronger enforcement. Everybody says that, you know, Jeremy says kinder, gentler politics. He says that he wants to not have any of that abuse, and I believe him, but he's got to show it through deeds and not words. And there is so much that the party could be doing to deal with that, to pull everybody together, to be inclusive. That's what I think we've got to do now, because how can we stand up against oppression and bullying by the powerful or by the mob, as Labour has always done, if we're not prepared to deal with the minority in our own party who might be doing that kind of...
Well, there you are. I mean, let's just deal with the word lynch then. Would you like to withdraw that?
No, she got it wrong. I did not say that. I did not say that.
Well, the stain on humanity.
Well, let's be absolutely clear. She got that wrong, completely wrong. On the stain on humanity, let me make this absolutely clear. What Esther McVey was doing as a Minister for Disabled People was forcing people to the edge in terms of cutting their benefits.
We've been through that.
And it was inhumanity that actually I was denouncing.
We've been through that, but the wider point, let's broaden this out, that Yvette Cooper, presumably you want senior, experienced women like Yvette Cooper back in the fold. Well, she's clearly not happy, demonstrably so. She thinks that you and Jeremy Corbyn and others at the top are not doing enough to stamp out this language, to stamp out this abuse.
Well, we are.
Using some of it yourselves.
Well, we are. It's perfectly fine to actually express in debate your honest opinion within certain parameters, and that's what we've done, and that's what I've always done within parliamentary debate. But when it comes down to wanting people back and participating in the work of our party, that's exactly what Yvette Cooper has been doing. Although she didn't want to serve in the shadow cabinet, she wanted to lead on an issue around refugees, and she's done a brilliant job like that. So in this coming period now, we'll be inviting people back into shadow cabinet if they want to, or onto the front bench. If they don't, and they want to perform a role from the back benches, like Yvette is doing, we'll welcome that as well.
OK, but it's not just about Yvette Cooper. Yvette Cooper making that very important point, saying there's misogyny at the top of the party. Others saying there's anti-Semitism still there, and that legions of people are indulging in online abuse.
Well, it's appalling, absolutely appalling.
But you keep saying that. I've talked to you months ago and you said that.
Well, exactly, and that's why we've introduced a system whereby people, if they are reported as in any way using abuse at all in social media or elsewhere, they will be disciplined, suspended and kicked out of the party, and that's what's happening. Jeremy has made it absolutely clear there's no room in politics whatsoever, and certainly not within our party for any of that. So action is being taken against any individual who is using that abuse.
So your message to Yvette Cooper is, you're wrong, come back, we'll welcome you with open arms.
No, it's not a matter. It's not a bit of wrong. She's made a mistake about what I said.
No, but about the misogyny, she broadened it out.
No, what
she's saying,
what she's saying, it's not at the top. What she's saying is, if there is misogyny there, the same as us, we have to root it out, and that's what we are doing.
She said you're doing nothing about it.
Well, we are.
So she's wrong.
I don't think she is saying that. She may be saying she may be saying there's a lot more that needs to be done, and that's exactly what we're doing. We've introduced a new system, we're making sure that's implemented, and we're making sure that we root this out, not just in our party, but in politics overall.
Well, let's talk, as I say, broadening it out, and it leads to the re-election of Jeremy Corbyn, the olive branch or branches. How do you get the Yvette Coopers and others, that wealth of experience and appeal to the country at large, how do you get them back in the fold?
Well, it's exactly as we've done with Yvette. We've said, whichever way you want to serve, we'll support you in that. So she said, I want to work from the backbenches on a particular issue like refugees, and she's done a fantastic job on that. Others have done in other areas as well. But if they want to serve on the front bench, they'll be welcome back.
But they think, fundamentally, it's not about personalities, that many of the policies are wrong. Do you not need a root and branch policy review? That has been suggested, that you go back to the drawing board and get a set of policies that can appeal to all the MPs in the party and to the country at large.
It's interesting that you say that, because we've just had a leadership campaign, and the most common expression used by Owen Smith was, I agree with Jeremy. There didn't seem to be any difference on policy whatsoever, apart from Trident and Syria, which we considered needed free votes because they were conscience matters. But in virtually every other area of policy, there wasn't a cigarette paper between them. So it isn't a policy issue. But even where there's policy differences, if there are there, we're saying to people, come and talk to us about that policy difference, and let's see what the real difference is and how we can hammer this out. The most important thing now is making sure that we have that discussion, and that's what's taking place.
Specific things that Jeremy Corbyn could do, much discussed, as you know, shadow cabinet elections. Let the MPs decide who's on the front bench.
Yeah. What's happening on that? There's a whole series of democratic reforms that people are debating now, one of which is shadow cabinet elections, the potential for that. The National Executive Committee, our controlling body, has now said they'll look at all those issues, but they'll look at them in the round. There'll be, what they're looking for is an away day, a democracy day, looking at all those issues, then consulting the party, and then most probably we'll have a rules conference if needed to change those positions.
And the threat of deselection hanging over many MPs, will you say categorically, as the Shadow Chancellor, senior leadership figure, that we are not going to have wholesale deselection of MPs, only if necessary due to boundary changes?
Well, we've already said that. We're not in favour of mandatory reselection. We've said that time and time again. In terms of what's happening on the boundary commission changes, one, we're going to fight it in Parliament, so it's grotesquely unfair, 2.5 million people not even counted. We're then going to look and see whether we can win in the courts on that issue as well. And if they do go through, we've said to the Parliamentary Labour Party on a number of occasions now, the existing rules will apply, so that if there's a sitting MP and a large proportion of their constituency is within that constituency, they'll have the right to stand. And that's what we've reassured them in that way.